Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good day. Whatever it is for you, wherever you are. Hi, I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas. Gas brought to you by Service Tech Equipment and Valley Head Service. Hey, welcome to another edition of Gas. Now, today we're going to talk about the roots of my racing and racing for many other people. Now, a lot of us started in scale racing. Now, when I say scale racing, I'm talking about slot cars. Now, slot cars have been around since the early 1900s. There's a debate as to who started it, whether it was Lionel in about 1912 or a French company in 1908. But the fact that motorized miniatures have been around for over 100 years is a fact. Now, it didn't get popular until about the 1950s again, and that's when home sets started coming out, and they were cast in plastic. Most of the commercial sets or commercial raceways that we know of and that I race on and have raced on are using wood, or they call it a wood track. It's a compressed plywood or compressed wood particle board, and it's routed. Routed meaning the groove is cut in the track so that cars can follow the groove. There's braid around each side or metal strip around each side of that groove that provides the power through a controller or a handheld rheostat. That is the actual name of what the thing is. We call them controllers. And God, there is more technology in the controllers today than you'll find in the average car. But I digress. Anyway, Motor Trend magazine has just realized slot car racing is there. That's right. They've got it. They just did an article about it. It's on the internet. I will repost it on my page and you can check it out. But slot car racing has been around for a long time, and it is an outlet for people like me, anyone, to get into racing and have fun in competition without breaking the bank. Well, for most people. For people like me, the wife's had me slow down a bit. She's asked me to. I have over 500 slot cars. Yeah, I'm an addict. I have a problem. Actually, I don't have a problem. I just have a lot of cars. I have a track in my home. I'm going to build one in my garage as well, and hopefully attract friends over so that we can race on a regular basis together. I haven't had the opportunity to race in my club that I belong to out of Glendale, California, because of, job requirements and traveling and other things we've been doing during this pandemic issue. But we get together on a regular basis when possible to race, approximately every 2 weeks. Now, one of the things California is lucky to have is a museum for slot car enthusiasts. And that is talked about in the article from Motor Trend magazine. And it talks about a gentleman who owns this track, and it's the LA Slot Car Museum, or LASCM. And it's got every conceivable model slot car available. Well, and I'm sure he's still looking for more. There's also a book out called Slot Car Dreams that you can pick up and read about the history of slot cars and see some of them. Now, I've decided to show you a few of what I've got, but check out the article. That'll give you more in-depth information. And then there are different websites and Facebook pages, for example, that you can go to. Home Racing World is one, and that's one that I've been on when it was a message board alone. And got really involved with it while I was traveling. Well, one of the old cars I've got is this Cobra. Now, it just looks like a slot car, except it is very old, and it has a brass chassis that was hand fabricated with I believe it's a Pitman-style motor, exposed, but it is one of the cars that ran very fast in the early days of slot cars, the 60s, I'd say. I'm not saying early days, but for me, the 60s. Now, I got involved with slot car racing in about 1962 and have been involved ever since. Now, I did take a hiatus for about a decade or so, or two, or maybe even three, before I got back involved with it when it started the resurgence in the 1990s. Now, I've gotten involved. Now, I can't blame my son and my family for getting me back involved with it. They bought me 3 or 4 cars to start with, and man, I love those little cars. They were great, and a track to set up in the house, which I did. The photos posted on my page. I started playing with them, having fun, joined a slot car club. Every 2 weeks, we would race and had a championship. My first year involved, I came in 4th overall, and man, I was hooked. I was hooked so much that I was on average buying 1 to 2 cars a month for quite some time. Now, I've cut back on it, but some of the cars I have that I really like. Now, how about a Corvette for those of you who like racing Corvettes? This is a car in a class we race called Vintage Le Mans. And we run cars of this size. This is 1/32nd scale. This is a ready-to-race car, and that's what we race. We found it easier. It is more about owning and enjoying than it is the skill of fabrication. Although I do have fabricated cars as well that I can race on the big commercial tracks. But I'm not going to show you those right now. So here it is. Basic slot car. Now I've added some lead weight. That's to give the car some balance and handling abilities that they don't necessarily have. In the class that we race, this is permitted. So this car is a race-ready car. It comes out of the box race-ready. About the only thing I do when I get them out of the box is make sure everything is lubricated. The tires are trued. And for me, I had a tire truer. That became too much of a hassle. I just made a block of wood with sandpaper, put it on my track, and I true the tires, moving it back and forth across the sandpaper. Now, other cars I have, and this is a Trans Am car for a class we used to run. If you like scale authenticity, you will find it with Skill Electric and Ninco. And this is one of the cars that we ran. It is a replica, obviously, of the Sunoco Camaro, and it's got its battle scars on it, and I don't know if you can see them here. You see how the numbers are wore off. So, hi, Debbie. How you doing? I hope your travels have been good. This car has weight, but it's inside the chassis, not exposed. There really isn't any area to put it exposed because it would come in contact with the track. Now, I like Chevrolets, but I also have Fords. And there's a replica of the Parnelli Jones Trans Am car. Now, I have more than Trans Am cars, but these are what I'm showing you because these are some of the more coveted ones that I have. Now, for those of you who like Corvettes, here's a Grand Sport for you. This one is a Monogram. Now, Monogram no longer makes slot cars, but this is one that they came out with. It wasn't a competitive car in any of our classes that we raced, but it was one of those that I gotta have it. I love it. So I've got it. I've got about 3 different variations of this. Altogether, I have about 80 Corvette models alone. I have about 20 Jaguar D-types that I really like, and I love British sports cars, so I've got Austin Healey's as well as MGs and so forth that I've collected. Some of them have never been out of the box because, well, it's one of those things I wanted them. But there's a whole bunch that I do race, and I've got those. Hi, Debbie Bradshaw. Good morning to you. And one of the cars that I just acquired, a friend of mine found it in a garage sale. This car has never been on a track or used. It is called the Thingy. And it is a Lexan-bodied, aluminum-pressed chassis. Now, I've got a couple of these chassis I've found from older cars that I've got, and I've started to collect some of the vintage cars as well. This one, though, has never been run. I haven't even put power to it yet, but I will give it a try. Right now, my track is behind me. You can see the poster or the billboard from the Snake and Mongoose movie. That is the bottom of my track. My track at home folds up to the wall when I'm not using it. When I want to use it, it comes right back down again. Now, in my closet, like I said, there's about 500 slot cars. Of those, there's probably 200 that I use for regular racing. And those are the ones that we have classes for in our club. And you can find us on Facebook as well. It's Far Out Racing Club. We run all over. There are private tracks owned by our members. One, unfortunately, one of the most fun tracks was the Riverside Raceway replica, and that has gone up to the Las Vegas area. So, Mike, we got to get up there and race. Rob Pratt's watching us right now, and he was at a commercial track, and both he and his wife were racing and became very, very competitive. The problem we've got with slot car racing today is the commercial tracks are fun, But unless they got into a really low rent area, they're not all that viable. They're not big money makers. The cost of operating them is quite high. And that's where the advent of the home racing teams or home racing kits and sets has really taken off. Mine are Carrera, and I chose Carrera for a number of reasons. Although it's not the most popular among the racing group, it is for me because the tracks are wider. It takes both a 1/24th and 1/32nd scale car with ease. It is good material. It uses a stainless steel strip rather than regular steel and requires less maintenance or cleaning. It's more adaptable to humidity and, well, environmental situations. Now, we do have a couple of people in our club that have wooden tracks, one that's even left outside all the time, but it's covered and it's well maintained. And it's a King Bola miniature track that we race in our club. I haven't been there in a long time, but they are still racing with the track. Slot cars can be fun and they can be expensive. They can also be inexpensive. And I buy them on eBay and so forth and private sales for anywhere from $10 to $40. You buy new ones for in the range of $40 to $50, and they have a whole lot of different styles and models. And I say models because they are very, very good replicas of the real thing. I like sedan racing, so I have a number of Cortinas and Ford sedans of different types and different years. We don't race those in any of the classes in our club, but should I start another location up here with the big track I plan to build, we will race the little sedan cars. And those would be under the Trans Am under 2-liter category, where Datsun 510s, BMWs, Alfa Romeos, Cortinas, and such competed back in the 60s and early 70s. And frankly, that's the era I grew up with, so I really like them. All right, you want to see more photographs? You want to see more pictures? Go to my page. I just posted about 10 or 15 different pages or photos of slot cars I have and that I use, including, now I haven't delved into this too much, but HO. Yes, HO is popular too. Takes up a lot less space. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Kit Dickerman, welcome. And you can check that out. I picked up a drag race set that I plan to use for a gathering of friends over at the garage, and we were going to go NHRA style HO drag racing. Well, pandemic hit and we haven't done it, but I still have the kit. I haven't taken it out of the box yet, but we plan on doing some drag racing and having some fun. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got GAAS, the daily edition, and I hope you enjoyed the slot cars. More photographs available just about anywhere. Need some photographs? I'll send you some. Slot cars, Scalextric. I'll give you some of the names that you can look into. Hang on one second as I go through the list here. And these are the ones that I pretty much have. I have Carrera. Now, we don't race Carrera in our club. They're just not, well, they don't like them for some reason. They don't think they're competitive. They like the others. Now, the detail on the Carreras is quite good. The cars run quite well. They're quieter. They're less modifiable. Somewhat tunable, but they're there. All right, so some of the companies that are manufacturing today, and the upsurge or the resurgence of slot cars started, they're saying, in Spain, and it has migrated rapidly across the world. As a matter of fact, the man who started the club that I belong to is from Australia, and we have members from Britain and Australia and all over the U.S. that come to the races on a regular basis. Now, there are dozens of companies manufacturing them, not only the parts, but the cars themselves. And there are companies even making resin replica bodies that you can mount on their particular chassis or modify, as I've done, to put them on chassis that I already have that qualify for the classes that we race. When we were doing the Trans Am series, I wanted an AMX or a Javelin. And there was a gentleman up in Colorado that was making resin bodies. I got that Javelin. I painted it up to replicate the Javelin racing team cars of the time, and I used it in our Trans Am class. But some of the companies that you can get ready to race cars, RTRs, what they're referred to, is Scalextric, Carrera, Le Mans Miniatures, Slotted, Fly, and, well, that's just a few. There are many. Sideways is another one, and we've got a lot of guys getting different cars, and we're expanding the classes that we race. Hi, Butch Hill. How are you doing this morning? Bob Long. Hi to you, too. So these are some of the cars I've got that I've shown you. I've got, like I said, hundreds more. And you can check this out. I'll post the link to the Motor Trend feature article on the Los Angeles Slot Car Museum. Check it out. And maybe we'll meet at a slot car race someday. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas. Have a great day.